We set ourselves a ridiculous challenge. Can we make a shark film for under $500? Well, I feel like we can. We did one for $700 and did really well on our channel, but this time I wanted to push myself. I wanted to have more narrative, I wanted to have dark nighttime shark scenes to make them extra spooky, and I wanted to have more interactions, and I wanted to have more character development. So this is what we managed to achieve for $500. Hope you enjoyed Torn Apart.
What?
So my name's Ryan Savarak and I'm a director in Western Australia, and I'm really lame. I love shark films. I don't care how cheesy some of them are, I absolutely love them. Because the film that got me inspired by film was Jaws. Obviously, what filmmaker hasn't been inspired by Jaws? The first step to making a film as ambitious as this for such a low budget is to have cool people around you. Building your network is such an important thing in filmmaking. And I was very lucky to have met a couple actors in my journey who were very excited to come on board. Also a few extra camera assistants and like audio people and all that stuff. And then more so than that, some new connections, people who would let us use their pool, their helicopter, their boat, all these ridiculous things that normally if you'd ask for, you'd get kicked out of the room. But I want to talk about how you can make that stuff happen and how people will actually take you serious. So something that people struggle with in filmmaking is, oh, it's who you know, it's who you know. Well, the simple answer to that is get out there and start knowing people. And you don't know people just by going, I'm a filmmaker, help me. You actually need to be friends with people. You need to connect with people. You need to offer value. Just basic human decency. As soon as you're trying to get something off someone, people can tell that right away. But if you've got something cool to offer, then people often want to get involved. So that's why I actually think making a sub $500 shark film is probably easier than making a sub $500 drama. Because everyone in the film industry, when they're coming up doing short films and indie productions, we've done the shoot in the house, we've done the cafe shoot, we've done maybe the bar or nightclub if we want to get a little bit more interesting. And there's nothing wrong with those films, but the problem is they get a bit repetitive. There's not really, unless the story's really good, not many people are jumping at that opportunity. As soon as I say shark, well, you've got to panic. No, I'm not going to do the Jaws line. As soon as you say shark film, even if you think they are corny, if you're at an independent level and you're doing just fun little stuff, a little part of you goes, that could be cool. That could be fun. I think it's the same with horror in general. I think a lot of us want to do horrors and things because it's the closest thing to play you get as a filmmaker. So I just really want to stress that, yes, we were able to do this film for under $500, but that came with a lot of favors and that came with a lot of good faith. And that's something you actually have to deliver on as well. You can't just say, hey, come and help me do this thing and then not deliver on it. You can deliver something bad, don't get me wrong, but you still have to give a product out. So I'm a big believer in if I'm gonna make something short, I wanna make sure I have it in the hands of everyone who helped me as soon as possible so they can share as well, so they can get credit for their work. Or I'm too self-conscious and I don't like the film, so I just put it on hold and never release it. That's not fair to the people that have helped you, and it's not fair to yourself because that's where you're at. It's not that you're a horrible filmmaker, it's that's where you're at on your journey. And by putting that stuff out, you can get that feedback in a real way and then correct it. I'm a big believer that if you're gonna make films for low budgets, ask for favors, but make sure you reciprocate them and make sure that you're offering good value and make sure that you're not demanding people help you for no budget and be willing to do it yourself. So that's a big thing that I think a lot of filmmakers have gotten wrong over the last couple of years is we all have to do stuff ourselves and it sucks because there used to be a day when you had a cinematographer, a sound person, an editor, a post-sound mixer, a post-sound designer, a colorist, a visual effects person. I'm not gonna lie, I think I pretty much wore every hat in this film, and to a degree, that does ruin the film because it's not a big creative collaboration. I tried to get more people in this film, but if you want to get something done and for cheap or maybe even free, you have to be willing to put in the hard yards yourself. So that's something that I've always prided myself on and not liked about my approach to filmmaking is I know that at the very least I will get something done because I have the abilities to edit it, do some sound and get it out there. But I noticed on this film, I tried to get more people on, and because a lot of the gear was mine or things like that, I noticed I kept slipping back into the camera department, kept slipping back into the audio, kept slipping back into every position, which meant I couldn't just focus purely on directing, which is what I really want to start working towards, because if I'm going to create a feature film, I need to be able to focus not so externally, and just have what's the vision of the film, what's on the monitor, what's working, what's not. That's where the real discipline comes in. So this shoot was supposed to be a 2-day shoot. It turned into 5, but everyone was lovely, so it was okay. But the reason it turned into 5 was honestly technical problems, learning problems. The first day, we were supposed to film about 70% of this film in a local aquatic center in the pool. We had 3 hours to shoot that, which was, I knew from the start was not going to be enough time, but I thought we could get at least the majority of the film in the can. We managed to get 2 scenes in, and I'm glad we did, because they were the high emotion scenes. So that's people screaming and scared and all those things, which if we'd done that in the real ocean or at the beach, that causes panic. That's not a good thing. We don't want to scare people in public beaches. So speaking of public beaches, because of that, we had to shoot our first scene in the actual beach, which gave us the opportunity to get wide shot cutaways on the drone in the ocean. And this saves the film. This actually sets up the world so well, because you see them in the ocean and close. So when you cut close to the pool, it almost feels seamless if you didn't know. So mistake number 1, we didn't really want to shoot in the ocean. We were prepared to maybe get 1 or 2 cutaways like the drone shot, but the fact that we got a whole opening scene in the ocean just instantly grounds this film in a real world. And that ocean we picked is a very safe ocean in Perth. It's actually one of the shallowest ones. It's where we shot Everything Will Kill You, Rip. It's very shallow for a long distance, and it's very quiet. It was a bit wavy and choppy the night we went because we wanted it to look more like dusk and evening, so the wind sort of settled in. But once again, safe location. We were pretty much right on the shoreline for the majority of that film. If anything, the only thing we were worried about was gear getting wet. So, you know, that's something that you should keep in consideration if you're going to make a shark film. Make sure everyone's safe. This isn't about ego. This isn't about it looking perfect. This is about film magic. Make things that aren't look like they are. The second day shoot, which was on the boat, which is the final scene of the film. So that was a scary one for me because I really wanted that emotion to land, but it's a big scene with not a lot of dialogue, and the character has to do a lot of heavy lifting with her eyes and projecting what she's feeling after losing her partner. So that shoot, we had maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get that scene, and thank you so much to Challenge Marine for hooking us up with that. That was just a boat store that's not too far from my house, and I just popped in and asked for a favor, and they were so cool and lovely and accommodating, and we were just like, yeah, go ahead, go shoot it. We can move the boat around for you if you need. So no oceans, no swells or bouncing cameras and people getting sick. We just got what we needed and we made it work in the safest and quickest way possible. So the 4th day, we did our flashback scenes. And this is the funny thing. We actually didn't plan for flashback scenes. They were written halfway through script writing because we were struggling to get a helicopter for our opening scene. So I noticed when we were filming and editing that the characters were just very whiny and annoying because I didn't have any context to set them up being stuck in this drama. So I'm looking at the edit and I'm going, they just seem miserable. And it's not working for me. So I better have a backup in place to make sure that these characters come across as at least a little bit endearing or a little bit likable. And then I realized how cute and insufferable they were at being cute. So I was like, let's just make this a really lovey-dovey couple. Let's just lean into that because it's actually kind of fun, and I haven't seen that in a shark film before. It's usually a couple that are on a bit of a divorce or a bit bitter with each other or a bit angry. So I wanted them to at least have those lovey-dovey cute moments just to recenter who these people really are, not when they're stuck in the middle of a horrible drama or tragedy. So we got those pickup scenes, that was really great. Got my dog to act in it, so she's got her first acting debut, which is delightful because she's delightful. So yeah, work with animals and work at nighttime and work in the ocean. The final day, this was something we were worried about. We were so worried if we could get a helicopter or not. We had a place locked in and then they had to pull out last minute because of their own issues, which was completely fine. We're asking for favors. And we were lucky enough to get in touch with RAFA, which has the Air Force Museum in Perth, Western Australia. And they have all these beautiful aircrafts just sitting around in their museum. And they were like, yeah, you can sit on it and film this. And that terrified me because I was like, well, these are actual artifacts. This helicopter had been into war. So I was a little bit like, we need to be as sensitive as we can here. But the scene was pretty simple, but we only had an hour to shoot. And that scene is about 3 to 4 minutes. So I was terrified that we weren't going to get that in the can because that is the whole setup to the film. That sets up who these characters are, what their missions are, what they're trying to achieve, and the rejection before the big tragedy actually hits, which is the helicopter crashing into the ocean. It was a lot of pressure, but in 1 hour, because everyone was so fantastic and proficient, and we had a real skeleton crew here, I was shooting, I was setting up lights along with the other guys, I was setting up green screen backdrops, all those things, and we still managed to pull it off, which is just, it's still mind-blowing to me. Being an independent filmmaker and trying to make stuff for nothing and make it cool is very difficult. But one thing I have found out in my career, if you play in fun spaces, people will want to come and join you. And even at the worst case scenario, if the film sucks, you can take a chunk out of it and probably have a little fun moment in your reel. So I think that's why a lot more people are willing to help.